You know, I speak a lot of people changing their position in society, thinking, equating that with changing the condition of being black in society, until they realize something happens and they still black.
Oh, they gotta have a black moment.
They gotta have a black moment, and then it's like, damn, just because I live over here now, doesn't mean that I'm these people.
Yeah, and I spoke to that earlier, man. Throughout all the changes in my environments that I've been in this military, the one thing that uh, I refused to give up was my essence, who I am at the core, and you can't lose that, man. But for myself, it was very important that I didn't lose my essence and the reality of what us as a people, what we're facing. In many of the rooms that I was in. See, I'm IT, so that's why I was laughing when I was like, man, why I can't hear y'all? Then I found out the speakers. I'm like, come on, man, I'm an IT guy, man. That's the first thing I should have looked at, right? Uh, but but yeah, man, I'm like in a lot of the rooms that I'm in, I'm the only one. I'm the only one, and it's been that way for a long time. I've been the only one in the room, and you can't lose that, man. If you ain't got your head on your shoulders, man, you go from feet to the white quickly. You know what I mean?
Early.
You know what I mean?
Early.
And next thing you know, you don't relate with people, so it can happen, man.
You know what I encounter a lot. To speak of that, man, just the name. I go by Seven. I go by Mill. I go by Rob Mill. And when you meet me, this is who I tell you I am. And I'm often asked, well, what did your mama name you? And it just makes me think about Malcolm X, man. What's your daddy's name? My father didn't know his name either. You know what I mean? We walk around carrying the monikers of the people who enslaved us, man. What kind of freedom is that?
Yeah,
that's why I always respected your parents, man. You know what I mean? Because y'all, well, not you, but Duck and Aji, man, they got some very powerful names. Jazz, Kaya, all have very powerful. Not to say your name ain't powerful.
Man, it ain't, man. I got shafted on that deal. I got shafted on that deal, man.
Well, that always resonated to me, man.
Yeah, I got shafted on that deal.
I remember my mom telling me that my dad wanted to name us some far out stuff like that, and she just wasn't having it.
Oh yeah,
she just wasn't having it, man.
And that's
I was like, why not? Like, why not bless me?
That's another thing that bonds people together. Like I have friends from Africa, right? And when they tell me their name, they can trace their name all the way from here to all of the people that are here with that last name, all the way back to their homeland in Africa, and they can trace all of the relatives that connect them all together.
That's because they named after all of them.
Last name. Just off their last name alone. And they don't always all know each other, but they can trace each other all the way back to their lineage back home. And one thing they all have in common is they all say, yeah, back home this last name is powerful. Everybody's last name.
Right.
That's another thing that we don't have.
Yeah, so if I can speak on that real quickly, I actually did a genealogy trace on my last name. To my chagrin, I have a very odd last name. To my chagrin, man, page full of Europeans came up.
Oh yeah, Nance is Irish, bro.
It's actually German.
Is it? That's not Irish.
It's actually German. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was like, go figure.
Well, my last name is German.
Right. So maybe we came from the same plantation.
Yeah, it's just that's powerful, man. To know where you come from, and to be able to trace your lineage. It gives you, it gives back to what we were saying. It gives you that bond.
That nationality, man. That's what we
It
need.
gives you that nationality, and
Need that.
maybe that's now that we've really like kind of explored this topic, maybe that's some of the discrepancies that these that the African brothers and sisters who come over here as immigrants, and they see that in us. Like, maybe they see that. We can't see outside of ourselves. Maybe they can see that.
It gives you a bond. It gives you a bond, but it also gives you a sense of authority. In their mind, no matter how poor they are, they have this sense of authority that says, I'm supposed to be great. We might be both working at the same job, making the same amount of money, but because they have that lineage, they have their mind made up already that I'm supposed to be great, and this is just a stepping stone towards my greatness.
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing to have, man.
And even though we might be getting paid the same amount of money, they got the nerve to look down on me as though, you know what I'm saying? They look at me. It's not all of them, but I have had conversations. Like I had a conversation with this one woman from Nigeria, and she was like, Black Americans are just lazy. And I'm like, yo, you work the same job I work at, making the same amount of money, and you got the nerve to say that all Black Americans are lazy? Like, how you figure that? But it's that sense of authority that she just automatically has just by knowing who and what she came from and what her people have already accomplished before she even got here. So she already know that I'm destined to be greater than this. And the assumption is that because I don't have that lineage, because I don't have that last name, because I don't have that language, because I don't have that geography, that automatically she already knows that I'm at such a disadvantage that she assumes that her greatness is already in a place that's beyond me.
I never thought about that, man. That's really powerful, man, because now that I'm thinking about that, maybe that is a point of that's a point of emphasis that now when I speak and I talk or communicate with our African brothers and sisters, maybe that's something that I can, quiz them or talk to them about,
Well, in those type of settings, man, I think was completely overlooked by foreigners is what the pestilence that we had to endure here.
Yeah, and
You know,
that's
they
part of
don't
the
think
discussion
that
that I would have with them.
they don't equate that as being a real
I
thing.
would I would definitely like at some point in our discussion uh tell them that they need to get out of the propaganda zone. Whatever you've been taught is propaganda.
Exactly.
And then let's talk about let's talk about the history of this country and some of the things that took place, so I can kind of make them understand the mindset that um, a lot of us as Black people have in this country. So
Indeed.
that's one of the conversations I had with my brother from Trinidad, because he's making money hand over foot in the market, Bitcoin. He trades stocks and stuff. So that was one of our discussions. He was like, man, and we really touched upon it in our discussion tonight. He said, man, how come? That's what I knew we was about to get deep. Anytime somebody say, how come? He said, how come Black Americans are not taking advantage of the financial markets, trade stocks and trade? He said, and he kind of went through what he did and what he's doing, and he was saying it's so easy. It's so easy to do. So in the discussion that I had with him, I said, so there has been, and you know what? The conversation veered off into me talking about some of the things that happened here on this land. So I just really wanted him to understand that, as was said earlier, very powerfully, by the way, we have been under constant attack. I didn't put it in that frame, but I was saying that we've literally had to fight to survive over on this piece.
And we're still fighting to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, systemic is just that.
Systemically, yes, we are.
It means just that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
So
like that boot has been lifted.
yeah, so we're still like fighting for scraps.
Exactly.
If we really like think about it, we are just we're fighting for our survival.
And on top of it, as children, and our children included, are educated under the curriculum that was designed by the same oppressive systems and forces. Our children aren't being educated by curriculums that we have written up or curriculums that have included our suggestions, such as credit, understanding real estate, understanding knowledge of self. None of that stuff is included in that curriculum. The curriculum is drawn up by people that are completely disassociated from our needs
And don't live in the community.
and don't live in our communities. And so the curriculum doesn't necessarily provide us or our children with the skills or the knowledge or the resources that we need to overcome. And it definitely doesn't provide us with what we need to overthrow our oppressor. Why would the oppressor give you the knowledge that you need to overthrow him? And so not only that, many of our children are receiving a distorted version of education, so that by the time the bell hits at 3 o'clock and they get out, their brain is completely cross-wired. So they come back into the communities completely ill-equipped and misguided. And so they're not even a contribution, whether we're talking about our children or how, some of the educational resources that we were given. And fortunately, we were able to rise above that to a certain degree. But look at what we had to go through to free our minds. Look at the emotional challenges and the mental challenges that we went through to free our minds. So, our children are from kindergarten on, they're educated by a system that literally has them walking in reverse.
Yeah. I got a funny story, man, about that, man. It takes me back to when my daughter was in daycare, preschool. And they were having a trip to go see Santa Claus. And I forbid my child to go see Santa Claus. And everybody, oh, why are you doing that?
Oh yeah.
And I'm standing in the middle of the daycare. And I say, Santa Claus doesn't exist. And wait, don't say that. Why would you say that? Don't tell her that. Why would you tell her something like that? I said, simply, I don't lie to my children. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have them subscribe to any kind of bullshit that's going to damage them for the rest of their lives.
You was a bad guy that day.
Oh man, I was saying himself.
You was a bad guy that day, boy.
I was saying himself. My daughter might have been about 3 years old, 4 years old.
Oh yeah, you was a bad guy.
And they just couldn't fathom that she couldn't believe that some white man flying around giving gifts. I'm not happy. You know what I mean? So
I can see them saying, Mr. Ramil, don't say that.
The other kids can hear you.
Like, Mr. Ramil, please.
Get them out of here. But that's an extreme, but it just speaks to what you just said, Elena. It's like, they place our children so far behind, not knowing who they are, not having anything to look forward, not having anything positive to look forward to equate with themselves. You understand? My daughter, 2 years ago, came home and told me that her teacher told her they had it was on Black History Month, ironically, man. They were teaching them about slavery. And the teacher told her that the Europeans never went into Africa to steal slaves. They were delivered to them at the shores.
I'm laughing because that's grossly negligent. Damn.
It's highly, well, how do I want to say this? It's highly profitable for them to tell them that, though. You understand what I'm saying? It's also highly profitable to keep, us in a mental state that we're in. Me and my man Andrea, we always speak about Stockholm syndrome, and do we suffer from that as a people? And it's a real thing, man. when you don't even, I'm not gonna go there, but when you don't even want to embrace yourself naturally, your natural self, how you look, when you're always trying to alter that and change that so you can fit into a mantra that society gives you, definition of insanity, man. You know, there's so many layers and so many levels to this particular topic, man. We can go on for days. But we got to start teaching our babies who they are. We got to start teaching them who we are. Even when Africans come over here, man, you know, the Bible says that there's a people that's more ancient than the ones that they speak of in the Old Testament that strayed away from society already. That's us. So we're their fathers as well. You understand? And and mothers. And so we just gotta push that narrative,
Yeah,
man. That's the only way I see
it takes it takes people like who have the willingness to do it, man, to get out front and start teaching some of these strategies that we talked about before. And the goal has to be the goal. It can't be selfish, man. It has to be about furthering our line, man. Because as we said, and the way the brother said it was powerful. Yeah, we're still fighting, man, for our survival here, bro. And if we don't start like taking that knowledge that we're still fighting, and the ones that can teach start teaching, then we're gonna this what 13 million of us here?
40, ain't it?
No, man. Unless somebody corrects me, I
I
think I think we're still on the. Go ahead, bro.
when we start doing the census on black people in America, one of the biggest things that often gets overlooked is how many black Americans are in prison.
Oh, so that's where Mill was saying 40 million. So you're counting that the population in there as
I'm,
well.
I, I'm counting like they count.
Okay, because that's a corporation.
I'm counting like they count. I
Gotcha.
want, I want every fucking body counted.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I
Give me
stand
them
corrected.
Mexicans. Give me them Mexicans. Anybody by color, I'm counting you. Shit, they let Kamala Harris be black. Fuck out of
No,
here.
hold on. Now hold on.
You can be black when it's beneficial to you. But anyway, man, my bad. My bad.
Yeah, we get washed out, man, with all this people of color stuff, man. So, but it's a hell of a conversation. But yeah, I didn't even count our brothers and sisters behind bars. That's a hell of a population. Now, are we talking 20 million plus? Or what are we talking about?
I mean,
I don't. I've worked behind the walls and the barbed wire, and I can honestly say, man, the numbers are staggering.
Okay.
I don't even know if I could ever even. I don't even know if there's any legitimate way to even put a number on it. It's just mind blowing when you
so
see how many of us are occupying those buildings.
I just googled it. There were 37,144,539 Hispanic blacks, which comprised 12.1% of the population. This number increased to 42 million according to the 2010 United States Census.
So is that people of color? Are we being watered down? What are we talking about?
They all are fucking children, man. All of them is us, man. They
So
call it,
we going with the BIPOC thing, black, indigenous people of color. That's what we
I
saying.
don't care what you call it, man. You know,
All
I'm
right.
not really in the houses.
Okay.
I'm not really in
All
the
right.
titles. I'm not in
No,
the
those are
boxes.
what we saying.
You know what
That's
I mean?
okay.
Anybody
37,
that can pass for my family member.
and we're not even talking about the community of brothers and sisters that the good brother was just talking about. So we at 40. We're probably at what, maybe 45.
Right, more than that.
Shit, man. That's a lot of warriors, man.
Yeah, we count South America too. Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
we're
a hell
counting
of a thing to think about, man.
displaced and discovered people, man.
One
What, what are we counting here?
one thing that I am convinced of is that white America is an extreme minority.
Always have been. We spoke about that, man. It's like, the two cops that can hold off a crowd of 500 people. That's the math. Yes, they have always been an extreme minority. They are a minority on the planet Earth. And again, in order to maintain a stronghold here, that narrative of supremacy has to be pushed. It has to be maintained.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so from a solution oriented standpoint, we talked about language, we talked about name, we talked about name being attached to lineage and genealogy, and we talked about geographical location. So I would say from a language perspective, it's important that we study, since English is our primary language, it's important that we study the etymology of words so that we can really understand the context that we're speaking in and the context that words are actually written in. I would also say from a last name standpoint, it's important for us to study subjects pertaining to knowledge itself, whether you're dealing with indigenous cultures or whether you're studying various schools of thoughts in terms of religion and whatnot. Like you said, as long as you don't lose your essence or get trapped in it. And then from a geographical location, understanding that we are standing on home, that we were not necessarily imported, but that we have a direct right to the land in which we stand on. And if anybody taxes us or tells us different, then they're actually the invaders of our territory. So that goes back to language, name, and geographical location, and how we can use those three concepts to build off of in terms of strengthening our bonds as a community. One of the things that brought us here today is that we're able to speak in a manner in which we all can relate to or understand. It doesn't necessarily even mean that we always agree all the time, but we can speak in a language, or we can use the English language eloquently enough where we can understand one another and respect each other. That took work. We didn't just automatically pop up here. You know what I mean? And we also, behind the scenes, we did our homework, and we're still doing homework in terms of understanding who we are and getting to know ourselves better and where we come from. So understanding those three concepts, that's the root of what bonded us to the point where we can even have this conversation. So I think looking at that on a small scale, we can take that and maximize that and use that same concept, those same three concepts, to build with our people on a mass level outside of this particular conversation.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those conversations, discussions is we got to start talking about strategies.
Right.
Absolutely.
Strategies for building and strategies for taking us from surviving to thriving. We got to get to that point where we start talking about it and planting seeds in our kids. Sort of similar to what you did when you was in the public school system. Start planting seeds, man. That's all it takes, man. Our children are very, very intelligent, but just like with any experience where you're not getting fed, man, after a while, you just say, man, this ain't for me. So we got to make it for them at some point, man. Whether um, when they get, if we're not gonna self-educate our children and put them in those school systems, we got to augment it, and that's why I'm looking forward to any mentorship opportunities, man, because we got to build that. We got to augment our children's uh, education. Strategies is one of them. Isn't it ironic, man, that we don't learn about all the things that will help you build wealth in school? You know what I mean? It's not just that's crazy. I mean, so
Our children,
Is it crazy?
our
Is it?
children are educated. Our children are educated under the philosophy of get an education and get a job. Other cultures teach their children to get an education to create jobs. There's a difference.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson said the same exact thing.
absolutely, we all agree on that.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson said that same exact thing.
Yes, he did. He did.
You know, and that's a direct byproduct of assimilation.
So we have to change that, man. We have to change that. So that's one of the things that I've always told my children. Like my son, right? He's a, I think he's a pretty talented artist. He's got a good portfolio out there. And one of the things that I've always told him is that I've used you as an example too, Bill, in terms of like we don't if you know for a fact that it's going to be difficult for you to work in an environment that's corporate, if you will. You know, as long as you know that, you know, do something else. It's
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have to work traditionally with this 9 to 5, you know, thing that everybody thinks is a form of success. If you know that you can't work under that framework, all right, I accept that. You know, I've told my children, it's not you getting a job is not successful. You know, that's 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 one form. But if you are able to do something non-traditionally, then as long as you know that you're gonna have to work hard to build your thing, then yes, that's another way as well. And that's not to be looked down upon as well.
Well,
Do your thing.
that's big right there because I know when I was growing up, even though I was surrounded by a lot of business owners, black business owners, the general idea was that uh, if you don't go get a job, then you failing.
Yeah.
If you got an idea to start a business, then it's that can be your side hustle, but that ain't nothing you could depend on to live on. That was how we were being taught. Go to school, get a job. Oh,
Yeah.
you got an idea that you want to pursue, you want to do something different? Nah, that ain't nothing you want to base your life on. That was the mentality that we were raised under. That if you had a business idea, you do that on the side, but get your foot in the door first. It was never given to us in a way where, unless you were talking to another business owner, it was never really given to us in a way where it was like, yeah, you can definitely put your best foot out there and come up with your own concept, your own idea, your own business, and turn that into something that you can maximize on. You know, working people did not have that mentality, at least not the ones that I was surrounded by growing up. We were
Exactly.
discouraged from doing anything other than going to school and getting a
Nine
job.
to five. Being
That's
slave.
that mindset, man, that came out. You know, listen, and I talked with Mill about this. I'll bring it here as well. If you count back, what was it, 65? 65, right? The civil rights legislation where you
When
were
you're allowed to be
guaranteed to be a citizen of this land. That's only what, 55 years ago?
a little bit older than us.
That's like yesterday in terms of like time.
History. Yeah.
So if you go back from 55 and we was going through school in the what 70s and 80s, you
Yeah.
still have a mindset. You have a mindset that Booker T and you know what? If you read Booker T. Washington's Up from Slavery and you frame it and take it back to where he was at, he was in the 1800s, 1900s, late 1800s, early. If you just frame what he was trying to do, which basically was saying like, hey, listen, guys, don't put so much time and energy into being academians. Let's get the work done. But if you think about it from his time frame, he's basically saying let's do something. Let's do something. That's basically what he was saying. So if you look at his framework of just do something, you still had people using his framework, which was back in that what early late 1800s and 1900s. So you got people still using his framework. Let's just do something. Do something with yourself. He's not talking about like building stuff. He's just talking about do something with yourself. So that psychology was still there, and we were going through school in the what 70s and 80s. So yeah, we're still under that framework, man. Where we come from in South Philly, Grace Ferry area, you got DuPont. You know how many people from our community worked at DuPont?
Yeah, all my uncles.
Yeah, my grandfather too.
Every last one of them.
Yeah, so
DuPont, Barrett's, we ain't gonna name them, but yeah.
But yeah. So they're still under that industrial mind frame,
right,
of just do something. So you know, we're not talking about like pushing our kids to be businessmen. As far as we know, that they probably thought that was something for white folks. We don't know what they thought. You know what I mean?
How about that?
So yeah, it's definitely a paradigm shift that has to happen, man. If we're to pull our people up, man, and get them ready for what we talked about, the digital currencies, Bitcoin, you know, money. I mean, there's still brothers walking around with pocket full of money. What? I don't even carry cash no more. we still got dudes out here walking around with a grand in their pocket.
Yeah, with all them white men in their pocket.
Yeah, come on, man.
That's single-handedly holding up white supremacy.
What you do is you make it perishable. It's in your pocket. You know what I mean?
You can't stay there.
You can't stay there, bro.
You can't stay there for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, we got to definitely get into the strategy side of it, man. I'm looking forward to talking with Nine, man, and just talking about money, like we said earlier, man. We didn't come up with that, so we gotta you know and make it comfortable, you know, make it fun.
Exactly.
You know, let's talk about money and all the great things that come from it. Legacy. You know what I mean?
So about that. So I'm personally, I'm trying to use this pandemic as a tool to get in that whole zone and lane with my daughter.
Yeah,
we can learn together. It's more fun for me as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because what I'm noticing is she's been kind of being taught to devalue the usage of money. It's just something to buy what you want, you know, without any projection. You know what I'm saying?
That's not like different though than what most of our young people are.
Oh yeah, I'm saying I acknowledge that. You know, so I see the definite need to redirect that.
Absolutely.
At a very early age.
Listen, man, my son is 28, man.
I'll be talking about that.
And this joker still spend a lot of his money on damn burgers and shit.
On what?
On food, man. I mean, we got food in the spot, boy. What are you doing?
Hey, listen, man.
So yeah, son, it's funny, man.
Yeah, my son is one of the most talented dudes and gifted guys I've ever met in my life, man. You know, I thought I had a little bit of game. This dude got the game mastered, man. It's probably my fault. But, you know, having said that, I love the entrepreneur mind. I love that. You know, he got that honest, you know. What I don't understand is the lack of structure, especially when you have somebody telling you to structure. You know,
I think a little bit of that is self-initiated. It has to be. So when I say self-initiated,
right,
and he's gonna have to you can only lead so far, man. But I think maybe the introduction to some different schools of thought too, man. We all need, like I was saying earlier, man, the smartest person in your room. And it doesn't have to be about everything. What I'm saying is you're not dumb. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you can't be the smartest person on every topic in the room. You know what I mean? It's gonna be somebody in there that's got more information on you on certain topics.
It should be.
And it should be.
It should
And
be.
you should welcome that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
if you're the apex, if you're the apex of the room, man, like you said
come
earlier,
on, man.
you need to
That's
go
the
and get out
room.
that room.
Yeah,
You need to go and get
find
out that
another
room.
room, man. Come on, man. That's what I
And
What's the word I want to use? Expound. You know what I'm saying?
say.
on the note of our children, I think sometimes, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier about bonds and the different elements that hold bonds together, I think one of the struggles that we deal with our children is not so much that those bonds have been broken, but those bonds have been disturbed. And so our children, you use the term from striving to from surviving to striving,
Thriving.
from surviving to thriving. I think our children sometimes they, you know, in their own personal acts of assimilation, they get caught up in a very individualized mentality. And so I think that's also part of the survival mode as well. And so when we come to them with other concepts and strategies that deal with thriving, if they're like so much caught up in that whole individualism of it all, then it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to connect with us on certain levels.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause we don't have enough shiny things to attract them. You understand what I'm saying? We're telling them concrete uh, strategies and solutions for longevity, and they're looking at 5 minutes in front of them.
So you're saying that they're more focused on what is it, the tactical and strategic. So they're more focused on the tactical, which
Right,
is what right there, and the strategy is
right in the
long term.
moment,
Okay,
right in the moment.
I can see that. I can
Yeah,
see that as
and,
well, and I can see where we tell them things, but their friends tell them things. Their teachers outside of the home have told them things. So
society on the
we
whole
so
has
they got a
poisoned them.
whole ecosystem of thoughts running around in their head. And we're just another part of that ecosystem, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, but the things, well, yeah, well, you know, I'm saying the things that we're telling them doesn't bear immediate fruit.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean?
But I'm
But
sure you've had times where he's come back and say, you know what? When you told me that in 1975, you was right.
hey, I've done it to my elders, man. You know what I'm saying? You know,
I
I was
just
just
had
trying
to
to
do it
spare
my
you.
way, right? I just had to
Right,
do it my way.
right, right.
But
I
you was
get it.
right. You
I
was
get
right
it.
way back in 1975.
I get it. I totally get it. And that's what I lead with. You know, I totally understand what you're thinking. I understand the mindset because I had it and it didn't serve me well. This is
Yeah,
why I'm telling you to do something different. You understand? But
yeah.
you know, I also understand that you got to do things your own way when you become a man. You know,
And I
as I stated, man, my son, man, Mar is the fucking man, cuz like I'm gonna keep it a being with you. You know, and his ceiling doesn't exist for him. A ceiling doesn't exist for him. This dude is so everything is right here for him. You know what I mean? And it comes so easily that he don't really have to feel like he had to work for much.